Alright, so in this video we are going to build a gradient generator. In this project is intended for beginners who just are starting to learn HTML and CSS and JavaScript. So by building this project you will have some good understanding of HTML and CSS. This is a very basic project, and in future I may create a project that is more advanced with more features, but right now this is what we have got. So you have two colors, right? You can select a color. Let's say I select this blue color, and then I select a pink color, and when I click this button a background is generated, a gradient background, right? So if I change it to something else, yellow and orange, and then click the button, we get a nice gradient, you can see. So let's start. What I am going to do is I have uh, three files, right? HTML, script and style CSS file. So let's start with HTML file. I'm going to name it background generator, right? And over here we got nothing. So to start with, we are going to create a div with a class of container, right? And here we need a h1 that says gradient background generator. Alright, we got it. So now we need another div that will contain our color selectors and the button. So let's say div dot controls, inside which first we need a label that reads color1. Then we need an input of type color. We need to give it an ID of, let's say, color1. Then we need to give it a name, color1, and a value. For starting we will say ff000. There we go, we got the color. And the reason we gave it a name is that we can assign this label to these inputs. To do that, what you do is you type for and you give the name. So this input label is now connected to this input. Now we need to create another label and input for color2. So we say label for color2, right? Input type again color, ID we say color2, name we say color2, so that this label knows that it is intended for this input. Then we give it a default value, let's say 0000ff. There you go, we got default values and color buttons. By the way, when you give type color to an input, you get this box by default. It is built into your browser. So now we create a button, right? We give it an ID, generate button. It can say something like generate gradient or background. There you go, we got a button. Now we need to connect our HTML to CSS and JavaScript. To do that, first we connect the CSS like this using the link tag, and to connect JavaScript you use script and sources to source it to the file. Alright, first we are going to style our page. Then we will move to JavaScript, and JavaScript is only like 5 to 6 lines of code, which is very easy for beginners. So let's start by styling. Alright, what the fuck do we need? Start with the body, which will show the background that we choose. First of all, let's choose a font family. You can choose any font you like. I'm going to choose Arial. It looks good, I guess. Then we give it a display of flex. So why do we give it display of flex? Well, flex allows us to align items easily on our page, so we want to align these on the center, so we will use flex. Again, this is not a tutorial of CSS, we are just building this project for beginners. Alright, let's say justify content. When you do this, it will be aligned horizontally, so like this, it is aligned on the center. To align it vertically, over here what you do is you type align items center. Okay, so the reason this is not aligned is because the height of the body is very small. It is about this. So what we can do is we can say height 100 vh. So now this means the height of body is 100 view height, so 100% basically. So once you have the full height, you can align items on the center. I don't know why background color did work, but whatever, let's ignore that. Alright, we wanna give margin of 0, and then here we wanna do the background gradient thing. To do that, what you can do is say background. We want a linear gradient, so this is a CSS function that can take multiple values, but we will give it only 2 values because we are working with 2 colors. So first parameter that it accepts is the direction. So which direction does the gradient go? So we can say to right. It goes from left to right. First color, we can give by default any color. Let's say I give FF0000, and the second color I give F000FF. So red and blue. Alright, you can see we got the background. Now we can style these styles. We're gonna style other things, the rest of the elements, but these don't matter. You can style them any way you want. Alright, starting with the container, I'm going to say text align center, so it aligns these on the center. Then we start with controls, margin top of 20 pixels, and then label, they get a margin right of 10 pixels, so there's some space between the label and the color input. Then we need a input of type color, so we are selecting an input of type color. This helps when you have different types of input in your page, so we specify the color input. Alright, to this we are going to give a margin right of 20 pixels, so there's some gap between this and this element. Now we need to give it outline none and border none, and padding of 0. So we removed the outlines that these buttons had. You can keep these if you want. Next we design our button, which is this guy right here. So I'm going to give it some styles. First of all, we give padding 10 pixels and 20 pixels. 10 pixels is the padding from up and down, so vertical, and the 20 pixels would be horizontal padding. Right. Background color, I'm going to give it a greenish color for CAF50. There you go. Remove the border and outline if it has any. Then we give it the color of the text to be white, so this generate background text, it will be white. Then we need a cursor pointer. What this does is when you hover over, your cursor changes to pointer like this. Alright, we can also give it an animation, so when you hover over it, the background color changes to something like 45A049, so you get some animation. Alright, we are done on the CSS part. Now the most interesting part is the JavaScript, which is only a few lines of code. Alright, what we need to do, first we select our color inputs, so this and this, so we can get their values. Alright, and then we select our button, so when we click on the button we do something. Alright, so we say const color1. So the way you select elements using JavaScript, the way you select HTML elements using JavaScript is, one of the ways is we get it by ID. So we have given IDs to both the color inputs, ID color1 and color2. So what we can do is we say document dot get element by ID like this, and inside the braces we put the ID name, so color1. So now this variable color1 will now refer to our input of color1. Right, so we can duplicate it and give it color2 and change the ID to color2. That will refer to the color2, which is this right here. Right, then the third thing we need is to refer to the button element, which is this guy. What you can do is say const generator button. You can name it whatever you want. I'm going to name it generator btn actually to shorten it. Document dot get element by ID, the same thing, and the ID that we gave it, so this ID we paste it here. Make sure you use the quotation marks. Right, alright, we also need to select our body, so that we can apply a background color to it, background gradient to it basically. So we need a const body that would be equal to document dot get document dot body. You don't need to get body by a ID, because body is the part of your HTML like this. Alright, that's why you can just do documented body. So we got our variables. Now on this button element we need to put a event listener for click, so when we click it we do something. To do that, what you do is you select the variable that is referring to our button and you say dot add event listener. Now this takes two parameters. The first is what kind of event we are listening to, so we say click. Alright, we listen to the click event, so when you click then the thing happens. What thing happens? That is the second parameter, which is a function also known as a callback function. So we name it the function. Let's say I name it set gradient. Alright, so this function we need to actually create so that it can be called. So what you do is you say function and you name the function. This is how you create a function basically. So on our generator button, when we click, this function will be called. Now what will the function do? the function needs to get the value of color 1 and color 2 and change the background of body. Alright, to do that first we create a variable const gradient. Now what do we need to assign to this variable is the style. So this style you see here, linear gradient. Right now we have red and blue color. What we need to do is create this linear gradient and replace these values with the values of our color inputs. So to do that, what you do is you create a string. The string is the same as the style. You're gonna see how it works. Linear gradient to right, basically the same thing that we did here, right? To right, comma, we are going to replace these colors with the input. So now over here, to pass variables these, what you can do is use string literals. So we are going to replace these quotations with backticks like this. Right, now inside these backticks you can pass variables by using $sign and brackets. Right, so over here what we do is we say color1 dot value. So this color1 will target this and it return its value, which is a color code. We also need the value of color2. So what we do is comma color2 dot value. Why is it throwing an error? Because we need to close it with this guy. Right, expected comma. Why did we expect a comma? Okay, I accidentally put two brackets here. Remove it, and over here we close it. So this is how it should look. Alright, now this variable gradient holds our style with our selected values. So now on the body we want to set our background color. To do that, what you do is body dot style dot background is equal to gradient, and that is pretty much it. Now let's test it. Let's say I select a red color. Okay, red is already selected. Let's say I select green and I select orange. Boom, there you go, it fucking works. Alright, let's select another color. Alright, boom, that works.